Bit of splish splashing.
Right.
Well, I've got two microphones. I've got one of those little clip-on ones that I use when I'm doing this bit. But last week I clipped it on, but I forgot to change microphones on the system. But it's still recorded from sort of, what am I, 4 or 5 foot away now from the actual work desk, the PC hub. So color-wise, as I say, I'm not going to get bogged down with it. I need a bit of paper to do, but I found some old palettes and squished them up. There's loads of blue in here. That's from last week with that door. So that's cobalt blue, phthalo blue, and goodness knows what that is over there. Then I found another palette. Look at it with this. It's got all kinds of colours in here as well. So spoilt for choice here. I quite like that blue from last week though. So I'm just going to do a quick test. Of course, I've got my normal palette. Looks like a mess, but it's quite a tidy mess. In that the similarities between all the bits in my palettes are quite amazing. Even though they're bigger and different sizes, the actual colours are the same. I just wanted to see what this phthalo blue was like. Oh, lovely. Now that's a new one for me. So that's phthalo blue. That's not far off the end game. And if we dip in some burnt sienna, if I got any here, yeah. Take the edge off. Burnt sienna, I said. I dip some of that float. No, maybe not. Dip some of that in. Should go a sort of a darky grey doodle. So that's it then. Everybody happy? Phthalo blue.
Except we haven't got that.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't, then Prussian blue with a little bit of cobalt blue will do a similar task, because it's I haven't got Prussian blue, but it's very similar. It's in the same vein.
Right.
But don't use it neat, because it's, well, you can try, but just do what I did, put it on a blank bit of paper. But then again, looking at it, depends which printer you print it with, because some printers it comes out a different color than others, and your computer screen. But you can add some cobalt blue into it. That was cobalt, so that takes the edge off the phthalo, whatever that was, phthalo blue. It's a new one to me, because I only found it in an old fruit jar. Nah, it was in a drawer somewhere, stashed away. Obviously acquired a tube of paint, like what I do. Years ago, people used to give me, either somebody gives up painting or passed away. Yeah, Dave, you do painting, have this lot. Do anything good to you? Don't know whether people have gone there. I'm going to turn the paper upside down for a sec. I haven't got a big angle. I've only got whatever that is, the depth of that. So it's not even 10 degrees, is it? That's sitting underneath the board. I'm going to turn it round. It's one I did earlier. Woo! On the other side, I haven't varnished it yet, so I have to be a bit careful. I varnished the door, spray varnished it. Good stuff, that.
Mm.
Very expensive. It was about 35 quid a tin.
Gosh.
A can. But it did last quite a while. Clean water. Mine turn upside down, so I want the upside down because I want all any water to squish its way from my perfect drawing. What I have done. Didn't take too long. It's a normal thing. Just think squares and boxes. So if you start on one bit, draw that square, then that take every lines away from it. Try not to forget the windows. Sometimes when you're drawing, they're the key because you need to make space for them. Right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 in that bit. 2 in that bit. One, oh yeah, right. There's 2 in that, yeah. And they sort of give you a gauge to how wide the thing is. I'm really nervous here. I'd like to. It's always the same when you get someone new comes, like Jenna. But I don't want to spoil it. Everybody else, anyone else previous knows that anything's going to happen. Or
Don't worry about me.
thanks for that. That's made me feel a lot better.
Mm.
I wouldn't have, honest. I just want to get a nice feel. The paper is the norm. Oh, what paper is it? The one that Gordon don't like anymore.
Who?
Langton. Is it Langton?
Oh yeah, the cheap Langton paper.
It's not cheap. This is the premier one. They do a prestige one. I'm pretty sure that's what.
They do a Trago Mills version as well.
Wherever they. Oh, that's dated. You've been in Cornwall or something?
Yeah, we bought loads of it from there. And it's like blotting paper.
But it's not. I'm just going to use. I used the big mop just to make it damp. I'm drawn to this phthalo blue. It's such a nice. Just looking at the sample I did. Right. Shall I go turn it up the other way again? Just for a minute. Oh no. I've made the paper slightly bigger today. Phthalo blue it is then. The only problem with it is it's a name I'll have with Prussian blue. It's a staining colour. Fugitive, they call it, isn't it? It's a highly fugitive. So it will. So you need to keep your paper pretty moist. It's a bit of cobalt blue, just to bring it to the party. I'm not worried about the clouds. I just want a nice blue sky. I can always draw a few clouds there. I'm going to turn it back the other way because I want to try and come in from the sides like I normally do. I'll come in. This blue is strong, isn't it? Reminds me of Uncle Albert. Not yet. Trying to scare Rodney, isn't he? he's supposed to go. He looks surprised. Oh dear, I do that. I do it all the time when I'm painting. It's just
I love that blue colour. It's so beautiful.
it is. It's phthalo blue. There is well, if I tried noon, what is that a word? Noon. That's new with an N on it. I wish I'd known about that before. Oh dear, oh dear.
So
No,
what made you paint this that one?
God, I'll have a look. But I've got the loads of it there. I'm just stroking. I'm stroking from each corner of the paper downwards because I want. See how wet it is because it's cockling like Billy did. But that's not unusual. I've mixed some of the cobalt and phthalo together. See if that gives a nice. But I'm concentrating on the top bit at the moment. I suppose what you could do if you're not too confident on skies, a neat way of doing it, if I can find a flat brush, is to just use a flat brush, get a wad of paint on it, and just go left to right. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Just make it lighter as you get to the bottom. Add more water. I like to come in from the sides anyway. So that takes the angst out of, well, I call it angst. It's just making decisions about where to put paint. Well, if you just do it like that, there is no decision. It's just like painting a wall. So it's a good way of doing it. But the secret of that, as far as I know, as Joyce is probably aware of what's coming now, is if you take the said flat brush and just you can lift while everything's damp, you can lift off your stripy clouds, just take it off, depending on the paint. But the trouble is you're still stuck with that decision as to where do I want my clouds, but you can just lift them off. But you need a bit of tissue. Look, you can see it's going on the tissue. I've used a bigger bit of paper today than I normally do. Probably got an exhibition coming up, so I want to a bigger picture. I thought if I could do a goodish job, what I will do, because besides it is a demo, isn't it? So I'm supposed to take risks and show people that. Just going to make a bit of a dry spot on this part. Get some burnt sienna. Bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of that blue. Should give me a really nice subtle sky colour. Use my flat brush. That's how confident I am on mucking it up. No, I'm just going to go up and down, dab it in, because it's dull. It's more at the top, isn't it? Just stick them in. Don't be scared. If you think it's a little bit brown, not a problem. Just add a little bit more of the blue in, and you'll get that more local colour shade. Local colour, there's a good term. Just means you're mixing with similar colours. Just want it to dry. That's the beauty of these skies. You don't quite know what's going to happen until because everything's soaking wet. It's going to dry subtly different. Any run backs, if you get a few like that, they can be handy. Probably it's being watercolour. It's all going to fade. Oh, I've got a divot here where it's cockled. But we can always go back in with our Tues with our brush. I've not touched the bottom bit much because I want that to recede into the distance. Need another bit of clean tissue there. Put so much paint on, I'm taking it all off. Da da da. Therapy skies, aren't they? When they go right, it's brilliant. I'm kind of happy about that, but not mega. I think the secret of perhaps a good way out of thinking it is to don't look at the your reference image. Once you've decided on the type of sky you're going to produce, just ignore it, keep going. I'm just mopping up pools of water that are forming in the divots. It's not easy to judge it sometimes because it forms a shadow, doesn't it? And I'm just going to leave it for now. It could be a two-stage sky, actually. Sort of let it dry and then come back and put a light wash of another colour on. Cerulean blue would be nice if you've got it. Just seeing if any run backs occur. I'm leaving that bit, I quite like that. But you'll know when it's time to stop because you'll try lifting bits off and it won't happen. It will just sort of always looks a bit naked, a sky on its own, doesn't it? Well, that's that decision made. Apart from a few spots, I'm going to add, just looking at where's the reference picture? Yeah. I'm going to stick a few puddles in down here using the same colour while I remember. Oh, that's a bit strong. That bit off. Find some shadow, find some blues. I did put some little squiggly pencil lines where I thought some puddles might be. I'm not going to do this bit yet. Just any old bit of a very light bit of the sky colour. Won't matter in a minute because we're going to go mad with rocks and that, aren't we? That'll do. What I remember, find a little bit of shadow colour. Try not to stick your hand in all the wet paint. It's only delicate, so I need a sort of a rigger. I've got loads of brushes all organised perfectly, but the rigger's hiding. In my palette, I've got a little bit of shadow tone, which we mix with rose madder, a little bit of blue, and depending what sort of mood I'm in, I'll add some burnt sienna. I just want to stick a bit, just See, that's a bit strong. It's almost dirty water. I just want to put a few bits in that are on there that I can definitely tell. Dirty water. I did put there's a few little triangles in pencil. I thought, I'll put them in, let it dry off. I went down the beach this morning. Of course, the sun was coming out cool when I was getting hot. And the worst of it is, you have to walk with your hand over your eyes because it's so, you're walking into it because it rises as I walk towards the Isle of Wight. Just putting these bits, some bits on just to let it. That was saying, I'm just hoping it'll dry strong. Well, I'll use the hairdryer on it as well. I just know what I'm like. I keep saying it, but if I don't paint them in early, you put a wash on and all of a sudden you're chasing windows. Well, if you've got a bit of a stain there at the start, I think that's part of the building. Some of the skies drizzled itself down, and there's a really lovely shadow bit all across here, isn't there? Where across, blimey, just looking at my sketch now. That comes on. Yeah, it is that. Okay. There, there. I've sat down for a minute. Wink your eyes up. Right, that's blocked in. What about these greens? What colour's green? Yellow and blue, I think. So maybe do a bit of yellow on it. I'm not going to use a big brush. Just gradually build it up. Usual. I've got a nice. There it is. Sort of a sable brush. Which one's the zoom on this camera? This one? No. Oh dear. This one. You can see how the paper's cockled big time. I'm worried. Mix up a bit of greeny colour. But I've got raw sienna and I've got, you know what that is? A little bit of paper stuck in my palette. I'll clean this bit up because this is going to be yellow greeny colour today. Yes, I forgot to. I didn't clean my palette up. Not sure if I forgot or I just thought, I'm not going to bother. You should really use the same blue, or let's get back to that thing about local colour. The same blue that you use on the sky, really. There's like a nice grassy bit here, isn't there? So I think that needs to be a bit more yellowy. Just to make it interesting. The other grass, the other side, I've got Viridian in there in this green, which is awful on its own, as you can see. But add a little bit of yellow to it and it'll change. I've gone olive green. It's just gone a bit. There you go. Drop in some of that. But have a play with the greens that you've got and see what turns out. Just put green water underneath it and let it drizzle down. Usual technique. Unless you've never done watercolours before, in which case it's now to become the usual technique. Just leave it. And add a bit of drop of yellow in if you want. Just drop it in. Move away from that area of the picture. Go away. Move somewhere else that's got green on it. Because you don't want the same green on everything. So when in doubt, start with a dollop of yellow. I think it's green, isn't it? Yeah. You can always make the yellow green by adding, sounds obvious, a bit of blue to it. So just think about it. Add a bit of blue to it. Cobalt blue on this one. We've got two blues that we used on the sky. Cobalt and phthalo blue. I'm not painting the bottom of it deliberately because it's a fleshy tone or a sand tone underneath. Well, fortunately, I've got sand in my palette, so I'm just going to drop some bits of that in. Don't know, drop, it's more like dabbing it.
Are you going to phone Philip?
I'll go right across because the sky has actually gone into my pencil line, I think. Well, there's a pencil line there, so I'm going to trust my earlier sketching and just put follow that line. Distant sort of Junie heels things. I'm hardly touching the paper. I've just got this brush. It's quite a soft brush. I think I've said before, it's the only sable brush that I own. Just drop a few bits of that green into it. As I say, you're at that stage now where you don't need to look at the reference picture much. I'm always painting it in reverse. What I'm doing is going to different parts, letting that part dry and then come back. Interesting. Very interesting. But in the process, I'm manufacturing green in the palette or different shades of it that I can dab in. Just look at the the image, your reference image, and look for shapes. Shape there, isn't there? Of what I could do, or what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a bit of that sandy dune colour because there's a shape of it just here. I put it in, or it's a wall, isn't it? There's some description. I haven't sketched it. There are some pencil lines there, but my eyesight ain't that good. I don't know what it is. Now I'm just going to put in a bit of wall there and follow it across to here for now. Drop it down.
You got a saucepan? Big.
There you go. Painting in reverse today in a funny way. I like that green over there, so I'm gonna reproduce it over here. Hopefully. Blob of yellow. And then a bit of phthalo blue, I think. For now. Drop that in, and then it was a drop of, I don't know, that's probably green. Just dropping it, just touching it with the brush. Could add some of that if you've got any of that Viridian green.
You haven't still got the bag.
Remember, it's quite fierce.
Still got the bag they were in.
Drop a bit of that in as well.
I'll get you a bag that they can get.
I don't know what colour that is. Oh, I do. It's burnt umber and blue. It's a dark from last week's picture. So I'm just going to drop some of that in. Clean water, tease it off, and let it drop, drizzle down for now. Leave a few white areas for a minute. They won't hurt. What was it? Phalo blue. Could add a little bit of green into that and see what happens. But that would be a nice green. Definitely dark. Probably better to use the rigger here. I'm relying on the paper to dry off. As it dries, it will. Just looking at it, I think I need to come over a bit. Yeah. Just drop it in and then give up and go away somewhere else. Yep, just leave it. And there's some, while I'm in that mood, well, I've got that dark colour, there's a sort of a shape of it over there, isn't there? Just drop it in. Because it's wet, paper's still damp.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, that's nice. Again?
Where did that come from?
Me, I'm still trying to get it on my tablet. It's just
I thought I heard somebody say pass the corkscrew just now.
no.
I thought, a bit early. No. Well, it depends on, it's a nice sunny day, isn't it? Okay. There was a time when it was never too early for me. Well, when I were a lad, pubs used to open with cornflakes. Oh, where are you going? Oh, down the pub. What for? Breakfast. Love it. Those were the days. God, it's definitely warming up here now. Definitely warming up. If you're like me thinking, I'm not sure I've put too much or whatever, just use a bit of tissue and damp it off. And if you're really adventurous, use a bristle brush. Use a bit of stippling on it. Let's just bit of burnt umber into that blue and just stipple it in. It should give you that little. Just relax about it. Don't get panic into thinking it's all gone pear-shaped or grass-shaped even. Just dip it in. I'm a bit of loss this week because I've used a big piece of paper and I haven't got any border on the board that I've stretched it on. That'll do. Just maybe let it dry off and then whack in a bit more. Just think I could do something similar along this piece here. So I'm going to use some more of this. If you've got flesh tone, it'll work. How do we make flesh? Burnt sienna and rose madder does a good job. I just fancy putting a bit of flesh there and then dropping in some burnt umber and our bluey green, which is getting so much water floating around here. Everything's gone watery. Burnt umber, burnt umber has hydrated itself into a molten blob. Oh dear. But anyway, while that's still damp, I'll drop a bit of that. Could use a rigger. I've got one in my hand. I think it's a rigger. Yeah, it's a number 0. You know, what's a number 0 rigger? While that bit of sandy flesh colour is, just drop in some of those dark bits. What it's also the same, isn't it? You work on it while it's damp and wet. Try and get those magical effects. I ain't gonna spend hours painting bricks and walls, but if I can look at the picture and see like a dark line, you'll find if you just drop it in, it'll turn into a sort of rocky stone area. I'll do it again. Bit of the flesh. Okay. Drop it in. Go right across. It's only started the castle yet. It's nearly lunchtime. Burnt umber is a good colour to add to this blue. And then just drop it. Oh, take the edge off. I'm just stroking it. It's just dropped in. Took the edge off. I took all the paint off as well. Just drop it in. You can always tidy it up later because there's like a really dark edge down there. Say an edge. I'm not maybe it's not really anything to me. It's just a shape. Not too keen on that where that green's developed there. So I think I've got a as it's drying, it feels to me like I've got a row of fir trees growing. Little Christmas trees in amongst the what's it? But the if you mix up a sand or you've got a Junie colour, use it extensively. It's like a wall over here, isn't there? I'm just using the rigger to point it out. Wall pointing? No, better not. Sorry. And then I do the same thing again now. get that burnt umber. Go for fresh stuff. Add it a little bit of the phthalo blue to it. And drop it on the top of the bricks or in amongst them. Just gently. With the tip of the rigger even. Just little it around. A bit of that green. You can paint. You could paint it in the negative instead of thinking of the wall. Think of what's behind the wall, and paint the dark behind the wall, which is be that a shadowy green colour, something like that. It'll look nice when it's dried back a bit. I think. Nice blue. Definitely not my normal. It's definitely coming out. Trouble is now it's coming out with different tones that I would normally get. So I'm quite enjoying this. And now I'm in a bad place at the moment because I've got the rigger in my hand. And as I'm always saying, once you get a rigger in your hand, it's difficult to put it away because it's just such a great tool for putting in lots of strange detail. I think my sky is starting to dry quite well. Awesome. I'm going to clean something out here. Bit of my palette. I'm not going to throw these brushes away because it took me 10 minutes to find them in amongst the others. I'm going to just tidy up this bit of the palette. So it's all wet. I know that's why they call it watercolors, but I don't want it's everywhere. Burnt sienna. Just needed a clean space for some burnt sienna. Just having a think. I'll do it on the scrap piece of paper first, just to show what I'm trying to achieve. If I can find it. Using the soft brush again. That's got loads of paint in it. Plan is, or part of the plan, is to make the castle damp and then drop in with some burnt sienna and then drop in some of that blue on top. Just see how it develops. So I get some sort of the red behind. It's not quite what I want. I think my brush was dirty. I've got a tissue. Maybe the water's dirty anyway. Burnt sienna. Drop it in. And then grab some of the blue and drop it on the top. And you'll get that sort of, see? That's, well, you can see that sort of drizzly effect all around there. That's what I'm gonna try and achieve after I've looked at the castle and I've got a little bit of flesh tone. I don't know what colour that is now. It used to be flesh toning. I think it's got a pinky flesh tone to it. I'm just going to paint some of the lighter bits of the castle with it. Do it a bit at a time, I think. And then do what I said. Drop in a little bit of, probably use the regular for this as well. A little bit of burnt sienna on top of it while it's wet. Why is it all coming out so strong? When I want subtle, everything comes out strong. And just drop in a little bit of the blue on top and pray. Nah, fine. Let it dry off. Fine, I've got just stuck my hand in a load of wet. Find the corners where you put the pencil lines should be the shadowy bit of the castle. There's no business like show. Business I know. Because it's so, the scale of the castle is so small, it's really fiddly. That bit shouldn't be there. Damp that off. Go back to where I was. Just put the flesh bit on it and go away and come back in a minute. And it's gosh, it's hot, isn't it? The sun hasn't come over this side of the house yet. You can see now why I put those windows in earlier. They'd have been gone by now. I wouldn't have seen it. You haven't got flesh, but you've got burnt sienna in your palette. You can use a watery burnt sienna. Oh, if you can get any paint on your brush. And it'll act as a stony sand colour. Change this brush a minute. Just to prove the point. That is raw sienna on there. Just leave it. It will fade back into a sort of stone wall colour. It's classic. I was on the walls if you can. I'm just using a rigger at the moment. Bit of clean water. Drop in some of that sandy colour. And a little bit of, well, I can only describe as dirty water. And what the side? Happy basil. Not bad, not bad. Wow. This is fun. It's just a matter of mixing up different shades of burnt sienna and the blue to give you different grades of shades of grey and dropping them in. I've gone a bit more grey over this side of the castle. I always drop in a little bit of stony colour. Flesh, whatever you want to use. We'll let it dry off in a minute and come back with a sharper, darker tone. Burnt sienna. And then the old blue. Phalo blue. Bit of water. And drizzle it where you think, or where you visage, you see shadowy bits. Just look for shadowy shapes. There's a flipping great something up there. I'm just dropping them in for a minute. And there's a large bit in there. There's a bit in there. We haven't spoke politics today. What a lovely day. That's the beauty of this, isn't it? You get away from it. You can't put the flipping news on or anything. You don't know what they're going to come up with next. Myself, this is just a bit. I painted lots of bits of the sort of stony, fleshy colour. My castle bit. It's just a matter of getting some darker shades and drop them in. I don't remember what I said at the start. I don't want to do a photo of a boudoir of the castle. Oh, no fear of that here. There is a tendency to, like I said, to try and do a photo of it. I don't want a photo of it. Just want to have a bit of fun, really. Right, here we go then. I'm going to start on the right and work my way across. This is a very supposed to be yellow, that, or raw sienna. I'm going to stick a bit of that in there and drop a little bit of the blue in to the top. See if I can get a grassy knoll feel to it. Clean water on the brush, drizzle it down. You go across if you want. There's got to be a greeny feel to it somewhere. Gradually build it up. I've got, I don't know if this is one of those pictures I've got in my palette. As we all know, I've got flesh, a fleshy colour out of a tube, and I've got a dune, which is effectively sand. So, but this is sort of one of those occasions where just the raw sienna on its own does a good job. I'll put some dune on it just for the heck of it, just to show that if you haven't got it, the initial colour of just raw sienna, a weak wash with lots of water in it, does a really good job of giving the sand effect. Looks like I've got a dollop of yellow in my sea. Dollop of something then. Give it a wash and wipe. Fingers crossed. Maybe not. Hey, that's what makes us artists. We can take silly things like that and turn them into positives. I'm not going to go for I'm just going to use any old colour here. So it's burnt sienna with the Prussian blue that's been in there right from the get-go. I'm just going to go with that. And then use a brush and wipe it all off. Or a flat brush. Where's it gone? Don't be shy. Got 4 brushes in my right hand, trying to paint with my left hand. And a tissue. Same time. Just going to lift a bit of that off with a flat brush. For now. Apart from that bit. There's all the time. The water doesn't lift off. I mean, doesn't clean the brushes as well as I'd like them to. Right. So let's have a think about this area over here. Normal routine, raw sienna. I think would do something bit of fun. Going to paint it with raw sienna. Loads of it. It's not very raw. It's got more of a burnt sienna feel to it than raw. Add a little bit of blue. See if we can, oh, it's gone green. Never mind. Just drop it on. How far do we want to go? Right over here, really. Raw sienna. My raw sienna is difficult to decipher from the burnt sienna. It's trouble using cheap paint or free paint. It's a bit of the June colour. I'll blob that in as well. Sand, some people call it. And get some darks, burnt umber and blue. I'm over here with the palette, burnt umber and a bit of blue.
Mm.
Give me some darks.
Mm.
I want to go two.
No.
Let's go two. Dab it in. Hopefully this will work. And I'll just go scrape it off with a card.
So you've got
Usual sort of
He's provisionally booked enough.
thingy. If I could, it's at this point where I find I've lost the card.
Well, at least if he's provisional.
I should be able to use the corner of the card.
Yeah. I'm not going to do much more of these because they're not very good.
And drop it.
They're too dry. They've been picked for a while.
Yeah,
Get rid of that brush.
good one,
Mm.
I think about it.
That was all right then.
but very firm, but
Yeah.
a bit hard as well, obviously.
Well, I'm chucking out then.
My rocks are going to be a bit high by the looks of this.
Just to catch up on a few of the other things.
Ease it off. This is a Boots
Now,
Advantage card.
it'll be too late because it'll be too hot.
Never had much of an advantage over me because I never used it.
More to do with the tech.
Yeah.
Washing, dinner. I've got loads of things to do.
I think I like the lines come down on this. Well, it's an option. Can use a palette knife, works quite well. There isn't a right and wrong. real therapy. Pushing paint around. Or watery paint. Even that manky old bit of blue that was left in there works quite well. While that's sorting itself out. When that lost me nice brush now. Oh, that's a shame. I was getting used to do that with when you're painting. Sometimes you get used to one particular brush right the way throughout the picture. A bit more of that yellow. And I'm just gonna put some drops in here. How far along do you think it should go? Quite a way. I've not introduced any new colours. I'm just going to swear then. Just, I was going to say farting around, but just messing around with the colours that I've already got in the palette. It's quite a nice brush, this. Been using it quite a lot lately. Clean water, just get that green underneath
Hello.
to drizzle down. Morning.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Oh, right. Oh,
Bit more
yes. Yes, please.
sandy colour over here, I think.
Us and Chris as well will be. Oh, thank you.
There you go. I've still got the bit of burnt umber floating around. I'm going to use that. And a rigger.
Oh,
What a piece of art.
yeah.
I don't know. Burnt sienna.
Hang on a minute. I better
Makes up a bit of shadow.
find a bit
Rose
of
madder.
4 nights. Yeah.
A touch of that blue.
Monday the 1st. Yeah.
Almost there straight away, isn't it?
Oh, right.
To go a little bit to one side, add a little bit of burnt
Monday
sienna.
night, Tuesday morning.
And it sort of, was that a bit of paper?
Yeah, yeah. Got you.
There you go. Sort of
Sorry, I can't hear you.
a frizzy shadow colour. Well, why do I want that? Well, I don't know. Because I've drawn a pencil line
And
where
12.
I thought the foreshore was. So what I'm going to do,
Yeah, that's brilliant.
using a rigger,
Oh, right, yeah.
and some raw sienna,
You'll phone her though, won't you?
I'm going to put a line of paint along there and then drizzle
What is it, 40?
some of that shadow I just mixed up on top of it.
47. And what about the extra night? The one, £12? £12, yeah. Okay.
Bit more raw sienna.
No, no.
And there's another one there.
Well, I like fish and chips anyway.
But 2 little
Yeah, yeah.
lines.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Gone up a bit far
we
there. I
look
don't want to
forward
go
to
that far up. Now I'm just going to drop some of that using the rigger.
You mean you can manage to stop dying?
Drop it over the top. If you've got a fine rigger, you get a better finer line than I have. Just diddle it up and down.
Oh,
Let the
really?
damp paint mix with the damp paint.
No, well, we will, obviously, as much as we
Drizzle
can.
along.
But, yeah, we always do. We all muck in. But I mean, I can't get much done.
It's quite a thick rigger, so it's not
Yeah.
the normal.
Yes, there are. That some don't lift a finger, yeah. I know what you mean.
That there can be a twig.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's brilliant news. Yeah, we look forward to that. We were only talking about it at Kingston Moorwood. Kingston Moorwood went well, by the way.
It's better in here that I didn't even expect.
Yeah, it was very busy.
Not sure where it's come from.
Really good, yeah. Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Music went down well. Yeah, they all had a good time.
I'll try my messy painter today.
Never mind.
Still got plenty of that sort of shadowy colour floating around.
I'll tell Chris when she's finished.
So I'm going to use a
Yeah, but I know she wants to come because we were talking about it. Yeah.
use the.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great news.
This is dry here now. Well, dry as it's going to get. So I'm just going to
Sorry,
use
everybody.
the rigger and go straight across with some of this shadow colour on it. Take the edge off. That'll do. I'm going to go too mad. Everybody be dying. Be screaming for lunch, see? Not too bad. I think that needs to be melted in. It's a bit there as well. When I say that, I'm just using clean water on the brush. And a little bit, or you can add a little bit more shadow using that shadow tone. Put a line of it, clean water. I'm being dictated to by the brush here because it's quite a strong, a wide rigger. No, but I've started, so I'm going to just keep going. Add some clean water on it. Yeah, it's not too bad. Burnt umber and blue. Oh, let me think. Yeah, okay. I'll do it now. Burnt umber and blue. I'm repeating myself now. Yes, I know. Burnt umber. Well, that's burnt umber. That does not feel like burnt umber, a quality one. It looks like a pretty, I don't know, pale. Maybe it's raw umber. That's what it is, you twit. It's not burnt umber. No wonder I'm not getting my darks like I normally do. It's raw umber. Wonder why I put raw umber in there. I'll pass on that one. I'll add some of that blue to it. And then just using the rigger, stick some targets, some interest on these doodles. Right, honk it out. It's one of those brushes, this, trying to get a balance of water and add some darks. As I say, I'm not getting burnt umber. It's not on my palette today. Could add a little bit of green. Sometimes that'll make it go. Bit of red. Just want a dark. That's all. That's really dark. We can stand up for this. Ish. I was down the key this morning, as I say, looking at the foreshore, looking at all the different textures and colours in it. Thinking, I'm going to paint that like that today. I'll bet him. That time of year as well. Seaweed. One thing I will say, this is hot off the press. It's swan moulting season. I wasn't expecting that, were you? Yeah, I've been. If you go down the quay, the on the, all the swans that are there, it's absolutely plastic. I've never seen something. When you first go down, you think, crikey, a fox or something has grabbed a bird, and but it's not. It's all the swan down. They moat big time. I counted how many were there the other day, or I tried to. It went past 200, all in the harbour. Can you imagine 200 swans all deciding that they don't want their feathers anymore? It's the down feathers, one of the bird experts was telling me, that's underneath on their bellies. They sort of get rid of them. Are we off for time? I've got a lot of time left.
It's 5 to 12.
Oh, that's okay. That's good. So I've done more than I thought I would at this level, at this speed. I'm glad in a way, because it shows you don't have to spend 4 days messing about. By the read. That's it. Every time I find the nice brush, I put it down and it's gone. That's the trouble, they're all black handles. So when you look at it, look back, it's everything's black. It's got a stiff brush here. I'm just trying to tidy up the loose ends. Just goes to show how staining some paints are. I don't particularly want to turn that into a line of ducks. Just going to put a line of stronger colour on there. Let's straighten it out a bit. Okay. Quite enjoyed this. There's a few spots that need tidying up, like all of it. No, it's not. It's fine. I'm just going to move my chair across, and I think, right. Come on. We'll see in here and there. Just raw sienna. I'm just trying to tighten it up here and there. Really hard. Not easy finding an area of paper that's dry where I can put my hands to rest. Good practice and in painting with the with the arm over everything else because it's wet. So you've got to just drop in some burnt sienna there, see what happens. Ah, there's a bit there that needs lifting off. Actually, it's the opposite. Almost give it a faint wash. Just a bit worried about the tops there. One thing I must try and remember is just looking, put a few dark bits down here. And a hint of blue. Well, just drop it in. Oops, not enough paint on that one. Sort of a reflection of the castle. Raw sienna, sorry, burnt sienna. A little bit of the blue dropped on. Gives us a hint. Ooh. Not yet, Arthur. Okay. Looking. Just needs a little bit more. More bits of blue. Let's lift a few off as well. Have I got the right brush? No. Any brush. That one. One flat brush. There it is. I want to lift this bit off here. I'll scratch it off later if I'm in the ballpark. Boom, boom. Right. More clean water, I think. I want to fuzz this up a bit. Bit of the shadow tone. Just going to put a drop of it here and there. It's always the fun bit, isn't it? Just dropping in some darks towards the end. What I might do, what I'm going to do.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Why?
sorry.
You're not using bad language again, are you?
No. I had to leave because.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'm not looking at the screen. I'm.
No. There was an ominous dripping I noticed from my outside window, and I thought, well, it hadn't been raining. It's been so dry. So for the first time in a year, I went up into the loft. My friend put some things away from me up there because I couldn't get up there because of my broken wrist, including a big bag of all my photo albums. And she must have put it on the top of the water tank, which was just, unfortunately, a flimsy piece of insulation. And all my albums have been submerged in water.
No.
All my old
No.
wedding albums, all my family albums,
No.
all my precious papers that I'd been keeping from the kids, everything.
Righty.
You think
So,
they'll dry out or what?
oh no, they're far past it.
You should,
It must have been out there for months.
oh, you
no.
poor thing. That's
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
I know. It hasn't really hit me. Luckily, it wasn't mine and Brian's wedding, but it was my first wedding, and they were all professional photos.
Right.
You know, obviously, it was all my old family photos of my mum and dad and everybody in the wedding.
Oh,
So
gosh.
I've lost them all.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So hey ho. Anyway, that's not for
What can-
anybody but me to
Well, they're
worry
not-
about.
Are they, is all the ink run and that?
Yeah,
Oh,
they stink. They've been up.
Oh, God.
I mean, she must have put them back up there in like January.
Right.
And there's no way I would have. Well, I know I didn't put them up there. I know I didn't, and there's no way I would have put them on top of the water tank because it only had
Yeah.
like a
Oh,
foam lid on it, you know, to keep the
Right.
crap out.
yeah, that's right.
But I've just managed to get them all down, and they're just all propped up in the shower at the moment. But they're all ruined. Yes, so not a
Shame.
lot of them.
Mm.
I'm going to try and see if I can salvage any of them,
Yeah.
especially the ones of the family.
Mm.
But oh, such is life.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where I disappeared to.
Right.
I'm not gonna worry about it at the moment. They're all in the shower, dripping and multicolour water running out of the albums.
oh, God.
God.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
I don't know what to say really. It's just,
Mm.
I know it's
I'm sure it's happened to me in a roundabout way, and so I know what it's like. Well, I appreciate, but like you say, all you can do is. It sounds really crude, but all you can do is shrug your shoulders and say, "Well,
yeah.
cry." And
Although I didn't really care so much about the wedding photos, my first marriage, but it would have been nice to have had. I've got no other photos because we didn't have mobile phones and take cat photos in those days. So
yeah,
anyway,
Your
at least
sister
it's
won't have any old ones, will she? Of everything.
I might be one or two around, but it's just, you know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums.
Oh, gosh.
One was wedding, it's been holidays, my family, but and loads of newspaper things that I'd kept, you know, that had special significance. They were all soggy and ruined.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so all their first birthday cards and christening cards and everything. Never mind. At least I'm still here.
Yeah.
And it's nice weather. I'll eventually get them downstairs and try and lay them out in the garden somewhere and see
I was
if I
going
can.
to say that's all your only option now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and rescue some.
I was just thinking, you're lucky it's a hot, sunny few days.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make them wet now. You just got to dry them out naturally and see what happens.
Well, that's
In
right.
the lap of the dry it out.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll watch the video back on Zoom.
Bless you, Chris.
Okay.
Sorry.
I said bless
Yeah.
you. I'm really.
And hopefully see you all next week.
Yeah. Okay then, Chris.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay then. Bye. Bye.
Awful.
Oh.
Starting, so I could do a little bit.
If anybody's interested,
Yeah.
all I've done here is I've put a little bit of.
Mr. Ben, all right?
It's terrible. That is just
Oh, right.
makes it all bloody pointless, doesn't it? I've added a little bit of rose madder onto the castle bits, and I've just got a little bit of white here and there, and I'm just dropping in some white, which you can't really do when it's soaking wet like this. Just to, if you look back on it, you think, well, it needs a bit of a brightening up, a bit of sparkle here and there. I know we don't sort of advocate or shout a lot about white in watercolor, but it does have its place, and it can help tidy up. There's an area just here that where the sky is dried back, so I've got to wait until that dries, and then there's a little, I'll lift off that little bit of blue run back, and it'll make that sky look okay, make that area look nice again. But other than that, we're okay. And it's damp, everything's really soaking wet. So there's a few like the tops and that where I can, when it's dry, I can just add a little bit of fine darks with the rigger, and it'll make it pop out a little bit. That's if I want it to make it look like a fairy tale castle, which the history of Northumberland is really scary. It's going right back. I've read quite a lot of Anglo-Saxon stuff. At the moment, I'm reading Henry V. Some of those historical places like Northumberland were pretty scary. They were a kingdom to itself for hundreds of years. And don't forget that it was pretty much a Norse, Viking centre for a long time as well. I can't remember the king and the queen, but they were really important. And of course, even Scotland used to come down and try and capture Northumberland, and then they all married each other and fell out, and it's like Game of Thrones if you ever watched it. It's where it all came from. I'm not far off where I want to be here. I'm just doodling away, and a few darks. That bit I'll have to wait till it dries. It's always the same this stage of the picture. You just sort of want to walk away, let it dry, because it's still cockling. You can see where it's not really stretched. And just add a few. I'm just using the burnt umber, my dark, which I thought it was burnt umber, it's raw umber and blue. On this palette, I've got the shadow colour that I mixed with rose madder blue and a hint of burnt sienna, and over here I've got the burnt umber, raw umber and blue. I think I added a little bit of green as well, just to see if it may make it go darker. I'm just using that on a rigger to tease it around. The foreshore bit I'm not fussed about. I'm just going to let it dry off and add some more. But it's there or thereabouts. You can always add a little bit of blue into these white bits to make it feel like there's a bit of water. But as I said, I don't want to do a photo. I've done so many of those lately. But even here, if you think it's, I'll have a look at it later. But you can push this back with some of the shadow, which is why I mixed it up to show that you can do quite a lot of it. You can make the sand look a bit, you can push it back or forwards. If I put it all the way along there, then you don't quite know if it's going behind there or what. Could always lift that bit off. That's where I've made a bit of a faux pas, I think. It's just there. If I hadn't painted that so high, well, I was just following me on bloody pencil line. But if it was a bit lower, the beach would have gone round, and that would bring that down then. So when it's dry, it might be possible just to lift that off with clean water and a brush, so that area's back, and knock it back so it's like that. So there's loads of possibilities. It's like we always say, you're never finished. When you think you're finished, you probably aren't. And use, no, I'm just doing it here to show you, but you can stick your brush in a little bit of tube of white paint and push it even further back and make the what's the word, the boundaries, the start and finish line of something obscure, so that the viewer, when you look at it, it's not defined. I like doing that. I can lift a bit of that off later when it's dry. And the castle, it is what it is. I'm pretty sure that this bit here is really annoying. So when it's bone dry, I'll just use clean water and lift that little bit out, and it'll suddenly disappear. And there's a mark I see just on the edge of that. There's always little bits. This is why I don't get too despondent, excited, or I always like it when I finished. You know, I think, well, that's okay. But there's always areas that, as it dries back, a few days later, you think, well, that's a bit sort. It's bleed. The water, it'll bleed. It'll dry back wrong. Loads of different things occur. Like this bit here, there's a flipping line of yellow ochre or whatever paint that was there. Well, I can leave that when that's dry. I can either use what is my craft knife, which is this thing, and just scratch it out a bit. That look a bit better, look a bit more normal. Trouble with this camera, I can press the button, it can go all different colours. Black and white, which is good. That's not it. I don't think that's it. That's too dark. That's too far. Yeah. Well, I hope you get a drift of what's needed. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to make that a stick, wasn't I? It's tradition. If you make a mistake, stick a blooming stick in. If there's a big mistake in the sky, comes a seagull. Sometimes doing that, something like that, can take pressure off another part of the picture. You know, we're not all architects. We're not all wannabe builders. So if you, I could put some figures in, but I don't think I want to. It's one of those pictures that just needs nothing, really. Bit of a blob up there. I don't know what that was. I'm just going to, oh, it's just there. Yeah, that'll do. Look, there's a little black mark there. I don't know where it's flicked off a brush. So that's the great watercolor artist in the sky saying that needs to be another twig over there, Dave. So it's going to be another twig. The beauty is we've got the colours because we've mixed up the sort of shadowy colour. So all we've got to do is put a little line of it underneath. Perhaps spread it a little bit. And it'll look like it's meant to be there. It's not too bad. It's dried back quite well. It's not one of my finest, but it was a bit of an experiment with that blue. But it's got some cloudy bits in it. See what it looks like, because it's still cockled. So hopefully it will dry back nice. And there's a few pencil marks that I can rub out. Overall, I think I'm sat too close to it at the moment. What it can do is sometimes if things are,
This is
if you look at it when it's dried back and you think, well,
we've got to run it through.
it's too dull, too, you know, you want to put. Sometimes you put a light wash of sort of a yellow. Lemon yellow is quite nice. You can put, you know, just have one small area or a little area, brighten it, sparkle it back up. This bit's wet, otherwise I'd lift that off
Thank
and
you.
put a little bit more of the
Water tanks are they?
shadow of the castle in. There's a distinct sneaky,
I've said to her,
you don't notice it until you're about to walk away from the picture, that there's a little hint of the castle in the water. Oh, I've added a little bit more. It goes right across to here as well. Well, it's up to you where you want it. Just put a few little bits. You can make it taller if you want. That'll make it look cute. But it's a nuance. Something, oh, that's quite nice actually. I like that. Loads of different greens. But it's a good exercise in doing lots of different subjects, lots of different angles. That mount's too small. I deliberately did it bigger because I wanted it to look, you know, expansive with the sky and that. So it's unusual for me. We'll let it dry, see what it does. These boards I use for I'll show you quickly. On the other side I've got that, I might not be able to on this. I've got this picture here, but these boards I get from, or I got from sign writing place. The printers now, aren't they? They print these signs, and it's like, oh, I bought it cuts really well. You cut it with a knife. It's just white, sort of a foam core stuff. But the thing about it is, there's a portrait up in the thing on here. One of the star ladies. But the thing about it is, when you're finished, you can start it here and peel it, and the whole thing just peels straight off. While it's stuck on there, it forms some sort of surface tension and stretches the paper really well. But and it's really light. I've got in the past you use bits of wood, but this stuff is, I don't know what they call it, it's some polycore or something like that. It's just like thin white plastics. They put PVC vinyl on it and put it up on the wall as a sign.
I wonder why she hesitated this morning.
But if you go in and ask them, they've got offcuts of it, and all you do is get sandpaper and sand it, just rough it up, rough the surface, then the glue of the paste will stick to it. Brilliant stuff. Anyway, there you go, Bamborough Castle.
Oh, very nice.
Over to you.
Oh.
I don't see it on the screen, but it doesn't look half bad.
That's very nice. It does, yeah.
It does.
Getting the hang of it. Well, tighten it up later, but it's not about that. You ain't got time to do all that Tuesday mornings. Because normally you break it down into really soft areas, but I don't know. Sometimes it's a good, set yourself a target, don't you? So right, I've got this by Christmas. I've done that a few times, especially on a commission. You sort of do a bit, put it off, do a bit more. Hmm. But I'm happy.
That's good.
I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. Make believe it came from you. Well, I'm gonna write the words so sweet, they're gonna knock me off my feet. A lot of laces on the bottom. Well, I'm gonna be glad I got 'em. I'm gonna smile and say, I hope you're feeling better. And close with love the way you do. Yeah, I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. And I'm gonna make believe it came from you. I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. And make believe it came from you. Oh, I'm gonna write the words so sweet, they're gonna knock me off my feet. Well, a lot of kisses on the bottom. Well, I'm glad I got 'em. Yeah, I'm gonna smile and say, I hope you're feeling better. Well, close with love the way you do. Well, I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. And make believe it came from you. Yeah, make believe it came. Yes, and make believe it came. Yeah, from you. Anyone got a pen?